My name is Logan, and I was 23 when this happened, barely a year into living in Philadelphia. I had just landed a new job working late shifts at a small tech firm downtown. The hours were brutal, but the pay was good, and I needed every cent to cover my student loans and rent. Most nights, I took the Broad Street line back home. My apartment was near Jefferson Heights Station, which wasn't exactly the best neighborhood, but it was what I could afford. I never had a problem riding the subway late, until one night changed that completely. It was a Thursday, around 1:15 a.m., and I was dead tired. I walked into the Spring Gardens station, which was almost completely empty. The usual hum of fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, and I could hear the echo of my footsteps bounce off the tiled walls. The only other person I noticed was a janitor off in the distance, slowly mopping the far end of the platform. I took a seat on one of the old metal benches and pulled out my phone to check the train schedule. According to the app, the next train wouldn't arrive for another 12 minutes. I sighed and leaned back against the wall, trying not to nod off. About 5 minutes later, I noticed a man walking down the stairs from the street-level entrance. Something about him instantly made me uncomfortable. He was tall and thin, wearing a gray hoodie pulled tight around his face. His hands were buried deep in the front pocket. He didn't seem drunk or high, his steps were too deliberate, but there was a tension in his posture that put me on edge. He didn't sit down. Instead, he started pacing slowly along the edge of the platform, looking down at the tracks. At one point, he glanced up and caught me watching him. I looked away quickly, pretending to scroll on my phone. I tried to ignore the unease crawling up my spine, telling myself it was just nerves, or maybe the long work hours messing with my head. But when I looked up again, I saw something that sent a chill through me. He was standing completely still, just a few feet from me, staring. He hadn't made a sound approaching me. "Got the time?" he asked. His voice was raspy and low. I hesitated. It's 1:21, I said, showing him my phone screen. I kept my tone casual, trying not to sound nervous. He nodded slowly but didn't move away. "Late for something?" I asked, more to fill the silence than anything. "No," he replied. "Just watching." I forced a tight smile and went back to pretending I was occupied with my phone. My heart was pounding now. The guy stepped back and resumed his pacing, but every few seconds, he'd glance in my direction. The janitor had vanished, and the station was otherwise deserted. 2 minutes before the train was scheduled to arrive, I heard something behind me, another set of footsteps coming from the same entrance. I turned and saw a second man walking down the stairs. This one looked younger, stockier, wearing a black jacket and carrying a duffel bag. He didn't look at me or the pacing man. He walked straight to the far end of the platform and leaned against the wall, facing away. I didn't like this. Something about it felt wrong. The train lights finally appeared in the tunnel. I stood up, hoping this would all end the moment I got on. But just before the train pulled in, the man in the hoodie suddenly stepped directly in front of me, blocking my path to the platform edge. "You got a phone charger?" he asked. "No, man," I said, trying to sidestep him. "Sorry." He didn't move. "How about cash?" I froze. "What?" He leaned closer. "Your wallet. Let's see it." That's when I saw it. He had a box cutter in his right hand, just barely sticking out from his hoodie sleeve. "Don't make this harder than it has to be," he said calmly, like he'd rehearsed the line. The train screeched to a halt behind him, doors sliding open. No one stepped out. I looked toward the other man, the one with the duffel bag, and he was watching now. He wasn't part of this. I could tell by his face. He looked surprised, maybe even scared. In that moment, I made a choice. I yelled, "Hey!" as loud as I could, trying to draw attention. The man with the box cutter lunged, trying to grab my jacket. I shoved him hard in the chest, knocking him backward into the bench. The sudden movement must have startled him, because he didn't pursue me as I ran straight into the first car of the train. The doors closed behind me, and I hit the emergency intercom, telling the conductor what had happened. The guy with the box cutter was still outside, standing there with the same blank expression. The conductor called for police assistance immediately and told me to stay on until the next stop, where officers would meet us. As the train began moving, I looked out the window. The guy was walking toward the other man with the duffel bag. They weren't talking, just standing there. It wasn't until the train turned the corner that I lost sight of them. At the next station, 2 transit officers were waiting. I gave them a full description of what happened. They took my information, checked the surveillance footage, and said they'd patrol the area more thoroughly that night. I never heard any updates. I never saw that man again. But for weeks afterward, I kept having dreams about him. His pale face, the box cutter, the quiet menace in his voice. That night was a turning point. I stopped using the Jefferson Heights station altogether. I started taking the bus or getting rides home. The subway never felt the same to me again. Before we dive into the next story, if you're here for the first time, please consider subscribing to our channel and clicking the bell icon so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories. Your support truly encourages us and helps this channel continue to grow. And don't forget to share these stories with your friends and family. Thank you.